Welcome to more Polyphony Digital or PD Logic, where PD does some things that just PD makes sense. They just plain don't make sense, folks. I know I said in the last video that it would be a while before I do another one of these, but honestly it's been a while. It's been, I don't know how long, but quite a while. I did one pretty much not too long after the game came out, and it's December, so here we go. To start off, as y'all have read from the title, this isn't going to be any of the major glaring issues that a whole heck of a heap of people has talked about, because that's already been touched on to the point of the issues themselves are annoying, yes, but the talking about it is sort of kind of annoying in a way too, just because I would hope by now PD understands it and is attempting to fix it. If they ain't, then Jiminy Cricket. But if they are, I'll just leave it be. This is smaller stuff that, while it might not be quite as common, it's still pretty cotton-picking annoying. Shouldn't happen, so I'll go ahead and show it. Remember, as usual, the main point of these PD logics is not to, bash Polyphony Digital or anything like that. It's pretty much just to show stuff that's kind of off that could be fixed and why it should be fixed, pretty much. So anyway, for the first one, I'm here at Northern Isle, which, while it is a short track, it's banked enough where you can pretty much carry a whole heck of a heap of speed in the turns, no matter what cars you're in. Pretty much any car N300 or below on good tires you can take full throttle. And even Group 3s and stuff, you don't have to slow down much. So in theory, that means there's no possible way that hitting a wall would ever speed you up, because it's just going to be friction, which slows down your car, and then it's going to hurt your time. So on this lap, I just barely even touched the wall. Literally, I lost maybe 3 miles an hour from that. And again, I lost speed. I did not gain speed. And yet, because PD logic, that's a penalty, and it's not just a 0.1 second penalty, because I was on the wall for about a tenth of a second, I barely even hit it. It's a 1.5 second penalty, for Jiminy Cricket's sakes. How does that make any sense? I don't even think there's a possible way to do anything at Northern Isle that could gain you 1.5 seconds. The track's so small, there's absolutely nothing you could do to gain that much time. And especially not when you're hitting a wall. Because, again, friction slows your car down, and when you're taking a turn pretty much full throttle anyway, there's no way you could hit a wall to make it go faster. So there's absolutely no point of a penalty. It's just adding insult to injury. Moving on. Kind of the same theme, but different track. This time around, it's pretty obvious you're not going to gain speed. There's no explanation needed, because I'll just show you what happens. Obviously, that's going to hurt your speed. And that's not even the worst part. I completely spin out and then go into sand. I messed up there. Obvious slowdown. No way in any way, shape, or form with any car in any situation ever. Going into sand, wrecking. It was just a flat out wreck. I pretty much spun out completely if it wasn't for the sand. There's no way that could have gained me time in any situation. Still a penalty. And guess what? That's not even a 1.5. That's almost a 30-second penalty. How is this in any way, shape, or form useful? If you can explain to me how you can go in the sand, spun out, and gain 3 seconds in a lap, please do so. And I'll regret saying this, but I'm 99.99999, which rounds to 100% sure, you're never going to go in the sand, spun out, and gain 3 seconds. It just ain't happening. So therefore, it should not be a penalty. You know what? I'm even rounded to 100% sure to say, you're never going to gain any time. Not 3 seconds, not 0.3 seconds. You're probably going to lose 3 seconds or even more going in the sand. It should never be a penalty. Ever. This one's even worse than the previous hitting the wall one, because on some tracks you can sort of bounce off a wall and gain time if you do it correctly, but not at Northern Isle, so that penalty should be track specific instead of incident specific or whatever. If you hit a wall at one track, it's going to make a different effect than if you hit it at another. But on every track, if you go in the sand, it's going to hurt your time. I can't think of any track where cutting through the sand is going to gain time. Cutting through the grass, maybe, but to actually reset your car a whole heck of a heap, so probably not. Cutting through the sand, no. In any track, that's never going to gain you time. Anyway, moving on. And this is pretty much just to prove that it is the sand that does it. In the previous one, I sort of kind of spun in a way that maybe it counted me as cutting this next turn. But there's no way I could have possibly, quote-unquote, cut that turn there. Because I've already spun out to the point of I'm nowhere near the apex by the time that turn starts. So it wasn't because of that turn, it was purely because of the sand. And yeah, that's still a penalty. I've spun out and everything again, didn't gain any time whatsoever. In fact, probably lost about as much time as I ended up getting penalized. Just wait for it, folks. Still a penalty. And this time it's 6 caught picket seconds. Their penalties aren't even consistent. I'm at a loss for how A, the penalties are inconsistent, B, the penalties are useless, and C, just in general, how those two things can even happen. Like, who thought it was actually a good idea to give a penalty for spinning out? I don't even think that's a computer thing. I think that's probably somebody actual conscious decision, because I don't see how a computer algorithm could create a type of penalty like that. Because if you think about it in the sense of the computer algorithms resetting your car, I didn't even get my car reset there. When your car resets when you cut the track, and legitimately cut the track in a way it would gain you time, you do get a penalty. That makes sense. But my car didn't reset here. So then why did I get a penalty? I don't know. This is definitely broken. It definitely needs fixed. And the only real explanation this exists is purely PD logic. And here's another example. This is somewhat borderline, but it's still sort of kind of off too. Around Kyoto, the big Kyoto, going around this crazy fast section, it's hard to pretty much do it perfect, especially if you're in a sort of oversteery car. I mean, y'all can be the judge here, but do y'all think I have 2 tires on the rumble strip, which in this game counts as part of a track because that's just the way they do it? I mean, in my opinion, I do. I'm in a view where I can't see my tires, but I don't see how I wouldn't. I don't even think, according to this camera, to my whole TV, more than 50% of the camera itself is, like, not in the grass compared to in the grass. So in theory, that means I would have to have at least 2 tires on the rumble strips. And sort of the not golden rule, but just generally universally accepted rule in racing is if you have 2 tires on what's considered the track, this game considers rumble strips the track, then that's fine. And I in my opinion, I do, and it's still a penalty. And also another minor side note too, a penalty is a penalty, but this gave me a penalty instantly. The last time around, it waited like 5 seconds to give a penalty. Even if the penalties are inconsistent or legitimate or not or whatever, no matter what the situation is with the penalty, why do they inconsistently time intervals give you penalties? Like, why do some of them it wait to give you a penalty and then some of them it's immediate? Why is that even a thing? For any type of penalty, whether it's legitimate or not, I have no idea. So yeah, the penalty system in this game is pretty caught picking off. I mean, sure, if you legitimately cut the track, really and truly, and it would gain you time, it gives you a penalty. That's correct. But there shouldn't be insult to injury either, because I would say the majority of people who play the games play them legitimately and don't cut the track, or at least not more than once. They may cut it once to see if it is a penalty or not, and then if it is, they don't again. So then why would he punish them for them wrecking and then getting a penalty, and then also having that penalty being an inconsistent amount of time? Some of the time you have to wait to even see if it is a penalty or not. That's just plain stupid. On to another thing. This isn't a 100% penalty. Like, no slow down and then the time under it comes up, but this may as well be a penalty as well. For the FIA races, I think the manufacturer and the Nations Cup, on Brands Hatch GP, for whatever reason, I'm pretty sure PD Logic, it's either PD or FIA. I assume maybe both, maybe one or the other, but still, somebody's messed up logic. They start you on the first lap, you don't even accelerate till you get off the final turn, and you don't take that final turn at nearly the amount of speed you would in an actual lap either. This turn in a Group 4 car, which is what I'm in here, can probably be taken about 80 to 85, depending on driver level, I guess. But I really don't think anyone who's put in enough time to actually hot lap this, for it would actually matter to them, would take the turn at 73, and especially they wouldn't accelerate starting like there. That pretty much makes it to where your first lap is irrelevant every single time. That means also if you mess up, it doesn't really help to restart, because so what, you mess up, you ruin a lap, there's the next lap. If you restart, that's a full lap. So even if you mess up on a single lap, it's still only whatever portion of one lap you lose from that. This, you lose an entire lap. Why? I ain't necessarily saying start at 85 miles an hour or something through that turn like the max what the aliens would take. I don't know, maybe 81, 82? I mean, that seems legitimate enough for a Group 4 car. I would say 82 would be about the average through there-ish. I mean, I don't really know exactly what the average is because everybody drives different, but I guarantee it ain't 73. I wouldn't even say it's in the 70s. What's the point of this? And finally, these last two sort of go together in a way. Pretty much what you saw there was the livery just didn't load. It didn't give any type of explanation why other than just failed to create livery. Why? And it's not even the uploading it or whatever. It's not even sharing it. It's just creating it. It's not that big a deal because in most cases it'll generally like save a copy or whatever. It's not like the end all be all whatever on your car and ready to upload as in sharing, but it's kind of there. But still, why does it just randomly fail to create livery? In theory, that's not something that would involve online because you're not sharing it at that point. This does involve online though, and it's still kind of stupid because it sort of deals with failing to do stuff involving stuff that takes time. Online, connecting to rooms and all that takes time. Offline, creating liveries takes time. In this case, I'm pressing the, like, so the menu or whatever, like where it shows the drivers in the room and the, like, room regulations and stuff. For whatever reason, it just didn't let me do that. I have no idea why. I'm obviously connected to online. I don't even think it's necessarily a server thing because, I mean, all the rooms are showing up. It's not like an NAT Type 3 where it limits you. I'm on Type 2 here. And yet it still just won't bring up the menu. The only explanation I can think for that is PD logic, and obviously that can sum them up for all. The first ones are definite fixes. Those penalties are downright stupid. The middle bit with where the car starts you in FIA races, I mean, it's not going to ruin your lap or anything because it's just... It's your first lap anyway, so in theory your tires aren't warmed up, but still it would be nice to start you at a consistent speed that you would actually run anyway, so that way you can take the same lines. And the final one's just... I don't know why that's happening in general. Like, is that something that's even a fix, or is that just something random? I don't know. But nonetheless, all these things are stupid, and it would be nice if they were fixed. But I don't know. We'll see. Again, this is just the small stuff. None of this is downright game breaking like the sportsmanship rating and stuff like that is. And the penalties for hitting a car, that the driver hits a car doesn't get a penalty, but the one who gets hit does, type thing. This is just kind of. I mean, it's a big deal in the sense of it when it happens, but it's not all that common of a big deal. But still, nonetheless, PD still has a lot of stuff they can do to improve the game in terms of just how it runs and all that. I still believe in it's the people that make the game fun more than the actual game itself. And if I'm in races with good people, all that can sort of kind of be forgiven. But in situations where that ain't happening, this game's pretty caught picking flawed. And stuff like this is kind of the bare minimum or whatever. There's a whole heck of a heap that's been addressed that y'all I'm sure know about. If you don't, just go on GT Planet. There's generally a new thread at least every day of somebody complaining about something. Read all of them and you'll be caught up pretty quickly. But in the meantime, here's this. I think it's relatively new stuff, but it'd still be nice if it changed. Polyphony Digital PD Logic. PD's still doing stuff that just PD plain don't make sense. And that is, was, and probably always will never be worth a yeehaw, is it? Wrecking does not equal a penalty, for Jiminy Cricket's sakes.